Welcome to PlayPianoToday.com. Today we're looking at a fantastic concept on the keyboard called straddles. Today we're going to talk about a fantastic concept called straddles. Straddles are a real simple technique to get a lot of sound out of very simple triads. Let's take a look. If you've gone through the original course titled Pattern, Piano, and Keyboard, as found at PlayPianoToday.com, you know that triads or three-note chords can be major or they can be minor. In this case, I'm showing you a G major triad or a G minor triad. Let's look at the G major triad for a moment, consisting of the root, the third, and the fifth. Those notes for G major are G, B, and D. Pretty simple, huh? This is called root position because the root, like a tree's roots, are down on the bottom, right? Unless you're on the other side of the planet, then the roots are also on the bottom, which is a paradox. So this is a G major triad in root position because the root is on the bottom. What if we took that root and put it up here on top? You still have G, B, and D. But now this is called first inversion. We're inverting the chord. It's the same notes, but just in a different position. Now, if we take the third, put it up on top, you still have G, B, and D. So you still have a G major triad, or three-note chord, but now it's in second inversion. Root position, first inversion, second inversion. What happens if we kick it up one more time and take that fifth, that D, and put it up on top? Even though I'm an octave higher than originally, the root is still on the bottom, right? So this is still in root position. So I could play that G major triad anywhere on the piano. As long as the G was on the bottom, it's in root position. As long as the B is on the bottom, first inversion. As long as the D is on the bottom, second inversion. So we're taking that G major triad and simply inverting it. Instantly you're moving around on the keyboard. It's a very simple, pretty basic technique that you learn right out of the gate when you're taking piano lessons. You can do the exact same thing with a G minor triad. In fact, kind of a long-term thought, you can do this with any chord at all. You can invert it. But let's look at a G minor triad. Now we have G, the third, which is lowered, which constitutes a minor triad, right? So you have a B flat and a D. G, B flat, and D. Root position, first inversion, second inversion, back to root position. Okay, so I'm just inverting now that G minor triad. Now remember, if this is all new information to you, make sure you go through Pattern, Piano, and Keyboard, because we're going to use a lot of these simple concepts and put them together with a lot of other information and come up with some fantastic complex music. Just for the sake of being really clear, let's do some more inversions. We're not yet to the straddle technique, but we're getting there. This time we're going to use C major in root position to start with, right? C, E, and G, and C is the root, and it's on the bottom, so you call that root position. Okay, so now take that C, flip it up on top. It's called first inversion. Still C, E, and G, so you still have a C major triad. Same exact chord, but now it's in first inversion. Do it again. Take the E, flip it up on top. Now you have C, E, and G, so you still have a C major triad, but now it's in second inversion. Guess what? Take the G and put it up on top, and you are back to root position. Why? Because the root is on the bottom, right? Even though it's way up here, it's still root position. Anytime the root of the chord is on the bottom, you call that root position. So now you can start taking that C major triad, invert it up and down the keyboard. In fact, I hope you're doing that as you're watching this. Get your hands moving. You almost have to get your hands to move kind of in a tarantula sort of movement. Kind of spooky. But see, that movement has to become really fluid over any chord. Here it is over D. We're not yet straddling, but we're simply inverting chords. Here's C minor. Look at that tarantula jumping around. But this is a very necessary movement for your hands. Now, If you don't know all these chords like the back of your hand, which is really important, or rather the back of my hand as you're watching all these videos, if you don't know these chords that well, make sure you go through Pattern Piano and Keyboard at playpianotoday.com. When you go through Pattern Piano and Keyboard, the first thing you'll learn is the patterns of music theory. Instead of learning lists and lists of chords and scales and so forth, the things that make people quit, I'm going to instead teach you the simple patterns of music theory. And there's just a couple of them for the chords. And once you learn those simple patterns, you can play them anywhere on the keyboard and come up with these fantastic chords and scales and all the components of music theory quickly so you can get right to the music. Make sure you go through that course.